Hello, and what is going on, everybody? It is Master of the TDS, and I am joined by my lovely wife,
WritingRaven.
And we're back for another episode of Psycho-Synopsis.
Indeed we are.
The segment where we summarize all the Psycho for you, just a scattering of topics throughout the week, all summarized into one neat little package for you to consume at your own leisure.
You're welcome.
So, we have actually some changes coming to the channel soon. We are making some changes, so keep an eye out for that. They'll be coming in the future. But without further ado...
Shall we begin? Then let's start with our first client, Lord of the Rings.
Okay, so as you can see, I don't want to play with you anymore. Lord of the Rings of Power. A brand new rumor claims that Prime Video's upcoming The Lord of the Rings of Power series will feature LGBTQ plus representation.
Oh boy.
Now, I want to emphasize that this is a rumor. We are not saying for sure whether this is true or not.
And we have nothing against LGBT people at all.
But keep in mind that we've already heard some interesting things coming out of this particular production. And it makes us very doubtful that they're going to listen to the source material, nor are they going to, abide by any of the rules put in place by Tolkien himself, because Tolkien wrote the book in a certain way. And they're adapting, I believe, the Silmarillion into this, and it doesn't really a book.
It's more of a history book within the book.
Exactly, and so they're going to kind of adapt that, which means they can kind of have a lot of leeway, and they're going to possibly, we've heard rumors about black hobbits, and now there's rumors of LGBTQ plus representation. As my wife said, we have nothing against LGBTQ plus people, or against black people, or anything like that.
Not at all.
But we do believe that source material and story comes before representation.
It absolutely does. As a writer, I can confirm you need to create the story before you do anything else. The reason all of these things, these woke things are failing, which I'm pretty sure we've mentioned before, is that they don't focus on story, they focus on representation. And when you focus only on representation and make that the central point of the whole thing, it fails, because then there is no story. What Tolkien did with his stories was groundbreaking in its time, so much so that it's still popular today. So I can understand why people who love this series are so afraid that it's going to be destroyed, because everything else has been already.
I agree. And also keeping in mind that, as my wife said, it's not even just that they inject this stuff into the story either. It's also that they do this they create characters or new characters, and they base their identity around particularly the fact that they are diverse or have this or that, and it doesn't work. You need to build a character and then give them qualities and things that make them unique. You don't just make the character their sexuality or race. That doesn't work.
Not at all.
Now, have there been certain properties where they've done this and it's somewhat worked? I guess there are always exceptions, but for the most part, most of these properties are popular because they are the way that they are. And I get that some people have problems with being able to not see themselves on screen and it makes them they can't identify. I think that's a whole other argument, and it's kind of stupid. But regardless, changing something that's already beloved by millions for representation or diversity doesn't make the same people interested. They came for the story. They liked it for the story. And that's how it was.
Yeah. This is not going to work because they are forcing it.
Now, again, keep in mind this is a rumor, so we don't know for sure. But I do not have high hopes for this project.
No, they are going to completely destroy the lore.
I really, really hope that we're wrong, but it doesn't look good.
Unfortunately. Let's move on. Our next client is Percy Jackson.
So as you can see, we have a bunch of tweets by Rick Riordan here. But first, Disney Plus announced they ordered a television adaptation of Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson and the Olympians novel series titled Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I'm sure you guys know about Percy Jackson. It's pretty popular.
But we don't speak of the movies.
Yeah, well, apparently we're not the only ones. Now, these tweets are actually deleted, I checked, but Rick Riordan apparently doesn't like the movies. So, as you can see here, he says, "Well, to you guys, it's a couple hours entertainment. To me, it's my life's work going through a meat grinder. when I pleaded with them not to do it. So yeah, it's fine, all fine, we're gonna fix it soon. And then he says, finally, I still haven't not seen the movies and don't plan on ever doing so. I judge them from having read the scripts because I care most about the story. I certainly have nothing against the very talented actors, not their fault. I'm just sorry they got dragged into that mess. And again, some of these are quote tweeting other people, which I've moved out for the sake of compiling these together. Someone had mentioned that on Disney Plus, one of the scenes was censored or whatever, so Rick Warden says, I don't know, but clearly it's a mistake. They should censor the entire thing, just 2 hours of a blank screen.
I have a lot more respect for this author now.
Now, some may argue Rick Warden's writing and some of his prioritization of certain characters, whatever, in his books after the originals have gone a bit of a different direction.
That is true, but he did do it more organically than most writers.
Yes. Now, will this be good? Well, it seems like Rick Warden has very much hope in this adaptation of it. He's made very clear that he likes where this is going, and the person running it is someone who he believes will do the story justice.
It definitely sounds like he may have approved this.
Well, of course he did, because he has the rights to it.
That's true.
But keep in mind,
it's Disney Plus.
Exactly. And Disney, look, like them or hate them, they don't have a very good track record with their shows.
Not at all.
Now, some people may like the shows, and if you do, and you are one of those people, you are more than welcome to do so.
I fear for this one.
Especially because it's already been done dirty twice already. We already have our expectations set pretty low. But now adding Disney to the mix, at least for me and my wife personally, we are very skeptical. Would we like to see a good adaptation of this?
Sure.
Are we gonna pay Disney to the privilege to watch it?
No.
It's nice to see this being brought back. Hopefully it's done justice this time.
And hopefully they cast younger actors.
But we'll have to see. Look, the movies were garbage.
Oh yeah.
So much so that my wife refuses to speak of them. But still, if Rick Warden has a little bit more hope set on this, hopefully it'll be good. But, as I said, it's Disney, so I'm already not that interested.
Yeah.
But I do hope for his sake and for the sake of the fans who adore this franchise that it is done justice, finally.
Me too. Let's move on. Our next client is Peter Dinklage.
Okay, so this is a whole ongoing saga that we're going to try to break down for you as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, it says the Walt Disney Company instantly caved to woke criticism from Game of Thrones actor Peter Dinklage for their upcoming live-action Snow White film starring a race-swapped Snow White in Rachel Zegler. Now, not only have they race-swapped Snow White, and again, look, people have opinions on that, you're welcome to have them.
But that's not what we're here to discuss.
We're here to discuss Peter Dinklage, because Peter Dinklage is one of the little people, I believe, and that's the correct term, I believe, to refer to them as.
Mm-hmm.
And look, we have nothing against them. We want to make that very clear.
Not at all.
But he expressed disdain or not being happy because they're still going with the stereotypes of dwarves and whatever in the live-action Snow White.
But there have been other live-action Snow White movies that had people with dwarfism playing the dwarves.
That, and also, the dwarves are not evil. They're portrayed as heroes.
Uh-huh.
And what bothers him is he's getting all upset about it, and obviously, now here's the thing. We do not know whether or not Disney was already planning to make changes to this. But Disney has come out and basically said that they're not going to use dwarves, instead they're going to use magical creatures.
Whatever that means.
Now, this may have been something that Disney planned all along, so you can't necessarily blame Peter Dinklage for that specifically.
But it did take away 7 jobs from people in the dwarf community.
And they're not very happy about it.
I don't blame them.
A lot of them are very upset and have voiced their opinions online about Peter Dinklage and the fact that they're taking away opportunities from other people. And look, Peter Dinklage is well known for some of his roles and things like that. But at this point, there was no reason for him to speak up. However, to some degree, I do find this whole thing a little funny. And the reason for that is because they're race-swapping Snow White and whatever and trying to be more inclusive and diverse, but then it's not enough. So they have to do more. And then when they do that, they also upset more people, so now they're going to have to do more than that, and it never becomes enough.
Yeah, but they're not being inclusive, they're being exclusive by taking the dwarves out of the movie.
Yeah, they could have used the opportunity to portray the dwarves in a way that would have actually been useful. They could have even included... This could have seamlessly gone into the thing, and again, I understand that some people are opposed to, things being inserted, but they could have inserted a scene where somebody talks down to one of the dwarves, and the dwarf basically gets in their face and basically says, hey, don't talk to me like that.
Yeah, we've seen that done before in shows where they have a dwarf actor.
Exactly. And it would have been a good opportunity to further the point that Peter Dinklage claims to be making. Now, obviously, I have really no interest in Disney stuff, especially their live-action garbage. And some people like it, and if you do, more than willing to let you like it.
The Beauty and the Beast live-action I only like because it filled some plot holes.
Yeah. I wasn't interested in this already, and now I'm even less interested.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's Snow White in name only, and we all know why that is. It's for the brand recognition. But otherwise, it's going to be Snow White and not dwarves?
But she's not white.
That's true as well. And again, look, people have their opinions on that, and maybe she'll still make a good Snow White. Who knows?
Hopefully.
But at this point, it's Snow White in name only because they've changed so much of the core fairy tale at this point that you can't even really call it the same fairy tale.
You really can't.
Will this still be a good movie? I don't know. I'll say Disney's track record has not been very good.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. I don't think Peter Dinklage should have spoken up. I think Disney may have already planned this, and they just spoke up about it in response to Peter Dinklage, which would make a lot more sense. But I also feel that Peter Dinklage didn't have to say anything, and I feel like Disney coming out with that statement after he said it literally makes people angry at Peter Dinklage because they believe he is the sole reason, and let's be honest, he isn't the sole reason. Disney has been shown to cave a lot.
Quite a lot.
And so I wouldn't put the sole blame on Peter Dinklage. However, I will chastise him and say he really didn't need to open his mouth. There was zero reason to do it in this opportunity.
You're not wrong there.
And as you can see, I've made him the witch from Snow White because this was an opportunity to further your cause and you ruined it. And again, when I say he ruined it, I'm not saying he's the full person to blame. There could have been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. But he didn't have to further it. He didn't have to do that. And by doing so, he's actually made more people upset than people who agree with him. So he's done more to actually damage his cause rather than support it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad.
Let's move on. Thor Love and Thunder!
Oh boy. So during a recent interview, Thor Love and Thunder actress Tessa Thompson teased that the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, will feature many LGBT relationships in the years to come, and that Thor Love and Thunder will have a focus on an LGBT relationship.
It's gonna be with female Thor, calling it now.
Look, again, we have nothing wrong with LGBTQ people. And we don't care if they want to be represented or whatever, that's fine.
But it doesn't belong in a Thor movie.
No, it doesn't belong in the movie unless it fits with the story.
Which it won't.
If somebody inserts a random relationship, even if it was a, straight relationship or whatever, into a movie or a film that doesn't work with the plot, it's noticeable. Same thing here. If you are building a movie based around one particular relationship, it will not end well. And that's just what I'm saying. And if you didn't build it around this and then you shove it in, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. So either way, you're not doing yourself any favors. If you build a story and then allow for the narrative to contain diversity and inclusion and all this stuff organically, people don't have as much of an issue with it.
You're not wrong there, but it's already tanked my interest even further just by hearing this.
Now, I already wasn't a fan of Valkyrie in the MCU because Valkyrie in the MCU is not what Valkyrie looks like. If you'll see, the blonde woman is actually what Valkyrie looks like in the Marvel comics. And she's grasping at straws because that's what they seem to be doing these days.
The MCU version of Valkyrie isn't even an accurate representation of the Valkyries in general.
Now, they actually have introduced a Valkyrie that is like Tessa Thompson in an alternate universe, timeline, whatever. I'll be honest, I didn't have enough interest to go look into it.
Don't blame you.
If you want to go look into it and you're that bored with your day that you want to go look into that stuff, you're more than welcome to do so. I was already not interested in this movie because of the things I've heard about it. And as we've mentioned, Disney doesn't have a good track record lately, especially with Marvel nowadays, except for Spider-Man No Way Home, which did very well, which was mostly Sony. But still, I'm not interested in this. And again, we have no problem with representation and stuff like that. But here's another thing to consider for the people who get upset with this kind of stuff and get mad that people don't want representation, whatever, because that's not what's happening here. But think of it this way. If all you guys want is to be treated like equals and normal, right? Wouldn't the thing to do to be just to have this relationship in the movie and then not make a fuss about it?
You have a point there.
You ever see articles going, blah, 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 will be in a relationship with blah in this movie and whatever? No, you don't see those very often.
Because no one cares!
But here, it's become a thing where they need to make a big fuss about it because it's one of the big marketing points for their movie. Besides the fact that it doesn't really work, I think it's insulting to actual representation because it's literally making a big fuss and making it something that's super noticeable, when if you really want to be equal, it should be something that's done without a fuss. Wouldn't that be normalizing it? Just some food for thought there. Again, feel free to disagree.
But I think that's all that there is to say on this subject.
We'll have to wait and see what this is. I have very little hopes for this.
I have no hopes for it. Let's move on. Our next client is the Punisher co-creator.
Yeah, the Punisher co-creator, Jerry Conway. So, in the spirit of current Marvel, the Punisher co-creator, Jerry Conway, has revealed his wishes for the iconic anti-hero to be rebooted as a black armed forces veteran who faces the issues that minorities in the world face today.
You can't see it, but I facepalmed so hard.
Yeah, and as you see, he's holding up something that I actually photoshopped in, and that is actually the Punisher there.
It's Frank Castle.
It is, because for 2 issues in the past, Frank Castle actually did appear as a black person. I believe it was a disguise or whatever, but I will say this. Jerry Conway has had some really bad takes lately.
You think?
And I don't understand why it's always up to these people to speak for other people. If you want a Punisher that's a black armed forces veteran who faces issues in minority the world face today, why not make a alternate universe Punisher like that? Why would you need to reboot the current one? There's no reason for that. Unless you're not confident that your black Punisher would stand up to the vigors of the current social environment.
I mean, they have Ghost Rider Punisher, they have Silver Surfer Punisher, they have a Punisher that's a combination of the two. So they could just do an alternate universe version.
And again, Jerry Conway is also the person who was trying to reclaim the Punisher logo and made that horrible, horrendous new version of the Punisher logo that we talked about not that long ago.
Oh yeah, that. I forgot about that.
And look, not only has it already been done, but why are you doing it?
For woke brownie points, maybe?
Maybe. Or he's just doing it because he likes to make a big fuss about these things and not actually follow through, because this will not happen. He's just saying it and trying to represent people who he probably never asked whether they wanted to be represented in that way or not.
You're probably right.
And again, if you like the idea, you're more than welcome to like it. We just personally think that he didn't need to open his mouth about it, and he's made some terrible choices and decisions and statements lately, all for the sake of being virtuous and diverse and inclusive, but he really isn't, because if people voice their dissent on this, he is the kind of person who just basically dunks on them and tries to get rid of them and tries to make sure that they can't speak up.
I really don't like those kinds of people.
So, not an original idea, not a smart idea, and not an interesting one either.
Yeah.
But speaking of people who should probably do better to shut up...
Our next client, Tom Taylor.
Oh boy, we get to talk about Tom again! The latest data set featuring comic book sales from December appear to show that readers are rejecting DC Comics' woke changes to Superman.
No kidding!
Now, Tom Taylor. I've spoken about him in length before. He blocked me before any of the Superman stuff came out, so I never got a chance to even see or interact with him because he's a coward, let's be honest.
I don't even know if he blocked me yet, and frankly, I don't care to check.
Tom Taylor got very upset at Bounding into Comics, and a bunch of other people's videos, meaning that he'd actually watched them. So Tom, if you're watching, maybe put your big boy hat on for a minute, and, try to actually use what's inside of your head and listen to what I have to say to you. So I'm gonna go on the limb here and think that you do have some common sense buried deep in there. It may be far buried deep in there, and it may be very little, but try to connect with it, just for these next couple minutes, Tom. So, your whole argument was based on the fact that people were saying that the comic had failed, even though the 6th comic hadn't come out until January. But the Superman Annual did, and it sold terribly.
Wah, wah.
So, that was a lie, which you were called out on, and then instead of addressing, you just blocked people because you're a coward, which makes sense. Let me make something very clear to you, Tom. If you were so sure that you were right and that everybody was wrong, you wouldn't have made the post to begin with. But see, you have not the capability to act like a professional. You've shown that many times. And we get that you're a one-trick pony. Whenever you need a gay character in the universe, it's just call Tom. Tom will do it, because that's all you're good for. And look, this may be harsh criticism, Tom, but you need to hear it. Because you have me blocked because you're a coward, but also, you are fundamentally out of touch, and you know it. And I'm tired of you sticking your nose and trying to make yourself seem like you're less of an idiot, because guess what, Tom? You are the idiot. You always have been. And the sooner you realize that and address that people don't like your version of Superman, and they have valid reasons why not to, the sooner you're able to do that, which I don't think you are, the sooner you're able to do that, the better it'll be for everyone. Because regardless of whether you change your ways, hopefully you'll shut up.
Well said, my love.
So yeah, enjoy your super flop, because that's what it is.
Let's move on then. Our last client of the day is Boba Fett. Again.
Okay, so alright, let's see what you can tell me. He's plugging into the Mandalorian helmet. Star Wars novelist Steve Perry, known for Shadows of the Empire, continued his criticism of Lucasfilm's The Book of Boba Fett series on Disney+. Now, Steve Perry has had a lot of things to say about this, but he's been echoing a lot of things that a lot of the fans have had to say, and the fact that they don't feel like this is Boba Fett.
It's not.
Now, in the most recent episode, which again, we have not watched.
We've only watched reviews.
But the recent episode, apparently the Mandalorian comes in, and it's the best received episode because Boba Fett's not even in it.
Which is extremely sad.
Now, it's kind of a setup for the 3rd season of The Mandalorian, which is what I've been told. But basically what's going on here is people are saying that compared to Boba, Mando is much more of a Boba Fett-like character than Boba Fett is now.
Yeah. Boba Fett has been just completely unbobafied, whatever the word is, because I can't say the actual word in the video.
The thing is, this is particularly something that we believe Disney has done on purpose, because they've made Mando Boba, pretty much. Or the Boba Fett we wanted. And so they can no longer have Boba Fett be Boba Fett. So they had to change him. Now, whether this is true or not, remains to be seen, but it would make a lot more sense. And there have been rumors and whispers about copyright issues with the main characters and royalties and stuff like that. They keep relying on them, but they also have said that they're going to push the sequel trilogy and the High Republic and all that garbage going forward.
Ugh.
So, not surprising. I think it's funny that Boba Fett gets upstaged in his own show by someone who's more Boba Fett than Boba Fett.
It's not funny, it's sad. But funny at the same time. So funny that it is sad, or so sad that it's funny.
Yeah, that'll do, honey.
Okay.
It's not surprising. It's kind of funny. And the true test of this, and I'm not looking forward to this, will be the Obi-Wan show.
Oh, right.
Because that's still coming. So not only is it bad, we have more stuff on the horizon.
Oh dear.
As Obi-Wan would say, I have a bad feeling about this.
In any case, that's all of our clients for the day, which means it is time to reveal the diagnosis of the week.
And we have an interesting diagnosis for you this week.
Please do tell.
So the diagnosis for this week is cognitive dissonance.
Please explain.
So cognitive dissonance is when some people hold a core belief that's very strong that any evidence that is presented to them that proves their belief false or contradicts with it becomes something they cannot accept. It's basically the idea being that maybe someone is a smoker, but they know that smoking might kill them, but they can't accept that because that would mean they have to stop smoking. This is the same for the industry. These people are presented with evidence all the time that contradicts what they have to say. The failing ratings for Superman, the failing ratings for the MCU properties, all this stuff, showing that this way they're going about things isn't working. But they're presented with this evidence and they ignore it. And we all wonder, why is that? Well, it's because they're all in a state of cognitive dissonance. They are so convinced and convicted of their beliefs and morals and values that they cannot accept any of that. So I think it's a very good and fitting diagnosis for this week based on that fact.
I agree.
And now we have come to the point where it's our remedy of the week.
And we have a new one for you. Our friend Lethal Lightning. He recently got his main channel completely taken down on YouTube for really no reason whatsoever. So we will be sending you instead to his other channels, his Twitch, his Live, and his Gaming, in order on screen above.
Yeah, and you guys may know Lethal. He's part of Geeks and Gamers. He's a friend to us. He's always been very nice. And he's just gone on some hard times lately. Mm-hmm. So I believe his gaming channel is actually not that far from being monetized, which is the Hyper Lethal channel. But these are his 3 channels that he has available now. Hopefully his other channel will be restated. But if not, you can head on over to those 3 channels. He's a great guy, fun to watch, entertaining content, and just show him some love, because he won't admit it, but he needs it right now.
He does. So go on over and support the Prince of Australia.
Yeah, please do. But yeah, that's all we have for this week. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and also make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe with notifications on so you do not miss your weekly therapy session.
Or you will be charged. Also, follow us both on Twitter at MasteroftheTDS and at WritingRaven2. Follow my husband on Twitch and Instagram at MasteroftheTDS. You can also find a link to our merch and our Discord server called The Clinic in the description below. We are also now both on Getter at MasteroftheTDS and at WritingRaven. And go ahead and follow me on Wattpad at GothicWriter613 for well-written stories that are not at all woke and actually respect source material.
Yeah, and if for any of the links you missed, there are links in the description that you can check out that will give you all the relevant links. But yeah, that's all we have for this week, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Gothic Therapy, out.
Catch us on the web.